Have you ever felt like your happiness is in someone else's hands? Like your life depends on a call, a like, or a nod of approval? But let me tell you something. That feeling, it's not freedom, it's a prison. And the worst part, you're the one holding the keys. Now, tell me, how much longer are you going to live for others when you could be the hero of your own life? In this video, I'm going to teach you something that could change your life forever. How to live without depending on anyone else. Now, I'm not talking about isolating yourself in a bubble or avoiding people altogether. I'm talking about building an emotional independence so strong that nothing and no one can take your peace away. We'll dive into keys to use to break free from the chains of approval, dependency, and fear, keys that even centuries later are just as powerful. So, if you're ready to take control of your life and become the hero you've always searched for, let's get started. 1, be the hero of your life. Be the hero of your life. Have you ever waited for someone else to solve your problems? Depending on others to save you is like sitting in a kayak in the middle of a lake, holding the paddle but refusing to use it because you're convinced someone will come and push you to the shore. Listen, let me be clear. No one is coming to save you. And you might think, of course, it's because they don't care about me. But you know what? That's not the reason. It's because this responsibility is yours and only yours. You have the paddle in your hands. All's left is for you to decide to start rowing. Think about it for a moment. Do you think Iron Man just sat around waiting for someone else to build his suit? When you place your self-worth in the hands of others, they're the ones who define you. And he was right. For so long, I had handed over control of my life to others, waiting for them to define my value. It was a hard lesson, but also a liberating one. If you're in a moment like the one I lived, I suggest 2 steps that can make all the difference. First, take full responsibility for your decisions. Don't worry, this isn't about blaming yourself. It's about empowering yourself. Stop waiting for others to take the reins for you. Ask yourself, what can I do today to change this situation? Every small action matters. By taking responsibility, you'll realize that control has always been in your hands. Second practice, self-affirmation. Every day, take a few minutes to repeat phrases that reinforce your autonomy. Something as simple as, I am enough, or I have the power to change my life, can make a big difference. These small actions are like seeds. At first they seem insignificant, but over time they'll grow and bear fruit in your self-esteem and confidence. Remember this, the hero you're looking for has always been there. You don't need anyone else to save you, because everything you need to build the life you want is already within you. All that's left is for you to believe it and start taking action. 2, take control of. Take control of your emotions. Your emotions, have you ever felt like a pressure cooker about to explode? The water's boiling, the steam's building up, and it seems like everything's about to overflow. My friend, it's time to turn down the heat. Because here's the truth. You can't keep letting your emotions control you. If you do, not only do you lose control, but you also hand over the power of your well-being to others. And trust me, that's the last thing you need. Think about it. If your thoughts are full of frustration, anger, or despair, what do you think your day will reflect? Your heart races, heat rushes through your body, and before you know it, you're yelling inside your car as if that's going to change anything. You take control, keep driving, and your peace remains intact. Controlling your emotions doesn't mean suppressing them, it means managing them. And to help you do that, here are 3 practical tips you can start using today. First, when you feel like you're about to explode, stop. Imagine you're at a red light. You don't start driving until it turns green right. Do the same with your emotions. Count to 5, breathe, and give yourself that small moment to think. That pause can be the difference between losing control and staying calm. Second, shift your perspective. Ask yourself this, will this really matter tomorrow? Spoiler, it probably won't. It's like getting mad at a villain in a movie. You know it's not real, but it still affects you. Changing your perspective is like reminding yourself it's just a movie. Stop wasting your energy on things that don't matter. Lastly, find an outlet for your emotions. Feel like you've got a volcano inside you? Let it out. But do it in a healthy way. Go for a walk, write down what you're feeling, or talk to yourself as if you were your own best friend. Believe me, these small actions not only release tension, but also give you back control without relying on anyone else. Now, hear this. You don't need anyone else to calm you down, relax you, or tell you how to handle your emotions. When you learn to do it yourself, you become stronger, freer. It's like being the cap of a ship in the middle of a storm. The wind may be strong, the waves may be high, but in the end, you decide the course, because when you control your emotions, you control your life. Before we continue, if this content is bringing value to your life, consider subscribing and becoming an exclusive member to access unique benefits. And tell us in the comments, what step are you going to take today to become more independent and build your own happiness? We want to grow together with you. Let go of what weighs you down. What weighs you down? Picture this. Your calendar is packed with commitments you don't want to keep, but don't know how to turn down. There's always someone who needs your help, a meeting you can't miss, or that call that can't wait. In your circle of friends, there are people who only bring drama and problems, rarely showing any concern for how you feel. Every day, you face the same habits that lead you nowhere. You spend hours scrolling through your phone, procrastinate on important decisions, and let the noise of the world take over. And then there are your fears, the ones that constantly remind you of everything that could go wrong if you try to make a change. It's as if you're caught in a net you can't break free from, but listen to this. No one else put that net there. You're the one holding it in place. Do you realize it? You're carrying more than you need. Relationships that no longer serve you, commitments that drain your energy, fears that paralyze you, and habits that keep you stuck. It's like trying to run a marathon wearing a diving suit. How much longer are you going to keep this up? Let's be clear, letting go isn't easy. I know that, but it's not impossible either. And you know what? It's one of the most liberating things you can do for yourself. It's like that feeling when you come home after a long, exhausting day and take off those tight shoes that have been hurting you. As long as you keep holding on to things you can't control, you're giving your power away to others. So ask yourself, who's in charge here? The answer should be me. So how do you learn to let go of what you don't need? Start by dividing your worries into 2 lists. On the first one, write everything you can control, your decisions, your actions, how you spend your time. On the second list, everything outside your control, other people's opinions, the past, and the expectations placed on you. Now look at that second list and say this. It's not up to me. It doesn't belong to me. Let it go. You can't change it. So why are you still carrying it? Focus your energy on what you can control. Trust me, you'll feel so much lighter. And I'm not just talking about worries. Think about those relationships that always leave you feeling worse than before. That person who only shows up to unload their problems but never listens to yours. That partner who doesn't respect you, or those friends who never celebrate your victories. Letting go doesn't mean hating them. It means prioritizing yourself. What happens when you release those burdens? You make room for people and things that truly enrich your life. The same goes for habits. If there's something you do every day that doesn't bring you closer to your goals, it's time to let it go. It could be as simple as cutting down on compulsively checking your phone, or finally tackling that task you've been avoiding. Every small change adds up, and when you start letting go, you'll realize you don't need anyone else to feel whole. You've always been enough. Letting go isn't losing. Letting go is winning. Winning space, clarity, and peace. When you release what doesn't serve you, you discover how light you can feel. So do yourself a favor. Let go of what doesn't add to your life, what weighs you down and what holds you back, and realize that you've always had the tools to move forward. You decide which burdens you carry and which ones you leave behind. And believe me, when you do, everything changes. Lose the fear of rejection. Let me tell you an old story. There was a little bird that lived in a golden cage. It had everything it needed, food, water, a safe place to rest. But every time it looked through the bars, it dreamed of flying freely in the sky. One day, to its surprise, the door to the cage opened. And do you know what it did? Nothing. It didn't move. The fear of the unknown, the fear of rejection from the outside world, kept it still. It remained caged, but this time not by the bars, but by its own fears. And you, how many times, like that little bird, have you stayed in your comfort zone out of fear of what others might think? The fear of rejection is like a shadow that follows us, even when we don't realize it. We're so worried about what others might think or say that we end up limiting our actions. You don't raise your hand in a meeting because what if what I say sounds ridiculous? You avoid saying what you really think because what if someone disagrees? But hear this, living in fear of rejection isn't living, it's merely surviving. And trust me, there's a big difference. Accept the things to which fate binds you and love the people whom fate brings you, but do so with all your heart. It sounds profound, doesn't it? But it's not complicated. Do your best, love what you do, and let go of what you can't control, because at the end of the day, what others think doesn't define who you are. The psychologist Maria E.S. Laz talks about how the fear of rejection can become a silent trap. It leads to behaviors that may seem harmless, but actually drain you from within. Want to know what they are? Because you might be falling into that trap yourself. For instance, always surrounding yourself with people because you can't stand being alone, or the classic one, repeatedly asking your partner if they love you, needing that confirmation as if your worth depends on it, and another very common one, biting your tongue in conversations, avoiding sharing your opinion just to avoid conflict or to fit in better. Trust me, you're not alone. Let me know in the comments. I can't wait to hear from you. Remember, my friend, you don't need anyone's validation to be happy. Learn to accept that rejection is a natural part of life, and the only thing that truly matters is how you see yourself. Who cares if someone disagrees with you? Who cares if someone doesn't accept you? That doesn't change your worth. When you stop fearing rejection, something incredible happens. You start acting more authentically. You feel freer. You no longer need anyone to confirm your value because you know you're enough just as you are, and trust me, that is priceless. 6, learn to say no, my friend. You might not believe it, but your time is incredibly valuable. Learn to say no. Let's be honest. How many times have you let just anyone walk in without even checking who they are? You let them take your time, your energy, and by the end of the day, you're left drained, wondering why there's nothing left for you. Listen closely. Learning to say no isn't just necessary. It's the filter that protects the most valuable thing you have. It's how you decide what deserves your attention, and most importantly, realize that you don't need anyone else to validate your life. You're the one who decides who's on the guest list, no one else. Every time you say yes to something you don't want to do, you're saying no to what truly matters: yourself, your time, and your well-being. Seneca put it best: nothing is more valuable than your time because it's the one thing you can never get back. And he was right. So why is it so hard to set boundaries? It's as if we're afraid of disappointing others, even if it means betraying ourselves. I had to learn this lesson the hard way. Once a friend asked me to help organize an important event. I didn't have the time, I didn't feel like it, but I said yes anyway. Why fear, I thought. If I say no, what will he think of me? What if he takes it the wrong way? So I helped. I spent days planning, rearranging my schedule, and barely had time to sleep. On the day of the event, my friend came up to me, visibly nervous. "We're shorted a few euros for the food. Could you cover it?" What could I say at that moment? I didn't have the courage to refuse. I pulled out my card, paid, and didn't even enjoy the event all night. I felt overwhelmed thinking about the money I'd spent, the time I'd wasted, and how I'd let myself be dragged into this situation by the end. Instead of feeling proud or satisfied, I felt betrayed, not by my friend, but by myself. I had let myself down by not being able to say no. And what did I gain from this experience? Not money, obviously, but I gained a lesson. My time, my energy, and my money are limited resources, like water in a desert. Well, if you give it all away carelessly, one day you'll find the well is empty and no one will come to refill it for you. Now imagine this: a family member, the kind who assumes you're obligated to do every favor they ask, calls you. This time they want you to take their car to the shop and walk back home because they don't have time to do it themselves. What do you do before you say yes? Pause. Think about what this means for you. Do you actually have the time? Do you even want to do it? If the answer is no, here's how to handle it. You don't have to suddenly become harsh or rude. Be direct but polite. You could say something like, "I'm sorry, but I can't do it today." You don't need to give explanations. A polite no is enough. If they insist, stay firm. You can say, "I understand this is important to you, but I'm not able to help this time." You'll find that the more you practice, the easier it becomes, and most importantly, you'll feel freer. Many people think saying no is selfish, but it's not. It's about prioritizing what truly matters in your life. Remember this: saying no doesn't close doors, it creates space for you. So the next time someone asks you to do something you don't want or can't do, pause, take a breath, and say no confidently. Trust me, when you do, you'll feel stronger, freer, and more at peace with yourself. Find peace and silence. Imagine a serene lake at dawn. The water, still as a mirror, reflects a sky painted in soft shades of pink and gold. There's no wind, no noise, just the distant song of a bird breaking the silence. You sit by the shore, feeling the coolness of the dewy grass beneath your feet. You take a deep breath, filling your lungs with crisp, fresh air, and as you exhale, you feel every tension melt away. What peace. In that moment, it feels as though the whole world disappears. It's just you and the silence. The surface of the lake begins to ripple gently, creating soft waves that expand outward. The sun peeks shyly over the horizon, bathing the landscape in a warm golden light. Do you know where you can discover it in your daily life? Through small, simple actions? Want to know how? First, set aside a few minutes each day for silent meditation, and before you think it's complicated, it's not. Find a quiet spot, sit comfortably, and focus on your breath. Let your thoughts come and go like clouds passing through the sky. Just observe, without judgment. It's like giving your mind a much-needed break from all the noise. Even 5 minutes a day can make a difference. And here's another thing that works. Practice mindful walking. Go for a walk, but this time without a specific destination. Turn off your phone, leave your headphones behind, and simply walk. Feel the contact of your feet on the ground. Listen to the sounds around you. Notice the scents in the air. Allow yourself to be fully present in the moment. Trust me, it's like recharging your emotional battery without relying on anything external. Remember this: silence isn't emptiness. It's where you find answers. When you learn to find peace and silence, you realize you don't need anyone else to feel whole. Everything you're searching for is already within you, my friend. Yes, you heard that right. It's within you. Build strength in difficult times. Legend has it that after a devastating storm, a young warrior found his world in ruins. The fields, the houses, the village, everything was destroyed. Standing in the midst of the destruction, his hands began to tremble. He saw a fallen beam from the temple, heavy and broken, and wanted to lift it to begin the rebuilding. He bent down, clenched his teeth, and tried with all his might, but he couldn't. His muscles failed, and the beam didn't budge. Exhausted, he dropped to his knees, staring at the ground. He felt defeated. All he could see were the remains of what had once been his home. At that moment, his teacher appeared calmly. He watched in silence and then said, "Do you think this moment is your end? No, this is your beginning. Adversity isn't here to destroy you. It's here to teach you. Today you can't lift that beam because you don't yet have the strength, but if you train, if you face the pain and work every day, you won't just lift this beam, you'll lift the entire village. But only if you choose not to give up." Hold on to that phrase. Adversity isn't here to destroy you, it's here to teach you, because it changes everything. The warrior understood. What did he have to do? Get up, train, and try again. That was his mission. Day after day, he faced his weakness, and with every effort, every fall, and every new attempt, he grew stronger until finally he did it. He lifted the beam. But not just that, his strength led him to guide his village in rebuilding everything they had lost. Now, let me ask you, how many times have you felt like that, warrior? Like the weight of life was just too much to bear? But listen closely, because here's the truth. It's not about what you can't do today. Don't wait for life to knock you down to start building your strength. The key is to prepare before the blow comes. It's a powerful tool that can change everything, and all you need is your mind to begin. At first glance, it might sound pessimistic, imagining the worst that could happen. But don't be fooled. It's not about sinking into fear. It's about preparing for the unexpected. Think about something you fear: losing your job, facing a family conflict, or receiving bad health news. Now take it a step further. Ask yourself, what would I do if it actually happened? What steps would I take? How would I face it? This exercise is like a mental drill that reduces the emotional impact if the worst does happen. Because when you've already faced it in your mind, you realize something important. No matter what happens, you can handle it in the end. True strength isn't about avoiding problems. It's about facing them with calm and determination. So the next time life tests, you become the young warrior, the one who at first felt defeated, but who, with every blow and every challenge, discovered within himself a strength he didn't know he had. Learn that you don't need anyone else to lift yourself back up, because your true strength comes from within. That strength is already inside you, waiting for you to give it a chance to shine. Are you ready to discover it? Give meaning to what you do. Imagine you're reading a book. The protagonist leads an ordinary life. The alarm goes off, they get up, have a quick breakfast, and rush out the door. They spend the day meeting obligations, come home exhausted, eat a quick dinner, collapse on the couch, and repeat the same routine the next day after day, week after week. Now, tell me, would that book captivate you? Let me answer for you. No, it would be completely boring, wouldn't it? But wait, stop for a moment and think. Haven't you realized that protagonist is you? That's right, we're talking about your life. And here's the important question. When was the last time you stopped to ask yourself why you're doing all of this? Because, my friend, if you're just surviving, you're missing out on life. And you don't need anyone else to give it meaning. That's your mission. Living without purpose is like sailing without a compass. You drift wherever the current takes you, but you never truly arrive anywhere. Worse, you rely on others to tell you what to do, how to do it, and even why to do it. Aren't you tired of that? Open your eyes. You don't need anyone to tell you what your path is. Do every act in your life as though it were the last thing you do. Imagine a man whose decisions affected millions of people still found the time and clarity to give meaning to each action. Believe me, if he could do it, so can you. Did you know that finding your purpose won't just make your days more bearable? According to studies published in the Journal of Psychological Science, people who find their why are not only happier, but also live longer. they have a 30% lower risk of developing heart disease. Isn't that incredible? 30%. If only for that, isn't it worth finding your why and what you do? Now you're probably thinking, and how am I supposed to find my purpose? That sounds like something only a few enlightened people can do. Relax. You don't need to be monk or have a divine epiphany to discover it. Let me share some simple steps you can start practicing right now. Trust me, it's easier than you think. First, make a list of the things you enjoy doing, activities that make you lose track of time. Do you like writing, cooking, helping others? It doesn't matter how big or small it seems. Write it down. Second, think about what you're good at. Ask yourself, what am I naturally skilled at? What do others come to me for? Even if you don't feel like an expert, there's definitely something you excel at. Add it to your list. Finally, connect the two lists. Look for patterns. What activities do you both enjoy and do well? That's the key. That's your starting point for giving meaning to what you do. And remember, it doesn't have to be something monumental. Even small actions can have a huge impact when they're done with purpose. When you find meaning in what you do, even the smallest things become valuable. You no longer need to rely on others to tell you which path to take because you're the one choosing it. So my friends, stop merely going through the motions and start living your days with purpose, because when you do, you'll discover something powerful. You don't need anyone else to find your way. Happiness depends on you. Imagine your happiness as a garden, a place full of flowers, lush trees, and pathways that invite peace. That garden needs care, doesn't it? And if you don't tend to it, who will? If you don't water the plants, if you don't pull out the weeds, what do you think will happen? Exactly. Your happiness isn't in things, miraculous methods or others, validation. Your happiness depends entirely on you. As the therapist Guito Diaz says, happiness isn't in what surrounds you, it's in how you choose to experience what surrounds you, and he's absolutely right. Happiness is an act of self-awareness, of looking inward and taking responsibility for how you feel, because in the end, happiness isn't something you seek, it's something you intentionally cultivate, like the garden we talked about earlier. Are you ready to start tending your own garden and learning how to be happy without needing anyone else? Take 5 minutes a day, just 5, and write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be grand or spectacular. It could be as simple as the aroma of freshly brewed coffee, a heartfelt conversation with someone you care about, or that quiet moment on the couch after a long day. Do you see it? These are small things, but they hold immense power. This habit, though simple, transforms how you perceive your life when you focus on what you have. Instead of obsessing over what you lack, you start to feel whole. And here's the truth. This doesn't depend on anyone else. It's something only you can do. And don't forget the importance of self-care. I'm not talking about an occasional indulgence, although those are great from time to time. I'm talking about taking care of your body and mind every single day. Go for a walk, even if it's just to clear your head. Meditate for a few minutes. Treat yourself to an inspiring book, or simply rest without guilt. Why? Because self-care isn't selfish. It's an investment in yourself, and believe me, no one else will do it for you. It's your responsibility, but it's also the greatest gift you can give yourself. But listen, this isn't something that happens overnight. Cultivating your happiness takes time, patience, and commitment. Don't expect instant results, but trust the process. Every small step counts. Every conscious decision to care for yourself and practice gratitude brings you closer to a full life. Remember this, happiness is a garden that only you can tend. Don't wait for others to water it or keep it alive. Take charge, because when you take responsibility for your own happiness, you realize something powerful. You don't need anything or anyone else to be happy. You are enough. And once you understand this, everything else becomes a bonus, not a necessity. Strengthen your confidence. That will change everything. Confidence is like a muscle. If you don't train it, it weakens. But when you work on it, it becomes your greatest strength and the best part. You don't need anyone else to give it to you, because here comes the big revelation. You already have everything you need within you. What's missing then? Starting to train it? That's it. Picture this. You're about to present a project. Your heart is racing and negative thoughts start creeping in. What if I mess up? What if they don't like it? What will they think of me now? Imagine changing the script before taking that step. You tell yourself, I've worked on this. I put in the effort, and what I have is valuable. That small phrase changes everything. Your steps are more confident, your voice is steadier, because in the end, confidence doesn't guarantee perfection, but it gives you the strength to try. A man's worth lies in his ability to be satisfied with himself. And trust me, he wasn't waiting for someone else to validate his decisions. He took control, basing his actions on his values, not on others' opinions. Now imagine him in modern Rome hesitating to post something because he's worried about not getting enough likes. It's almost unthinkable. Let me share a story where confidence is the star. A few years ago, a young athlete decided to compete in a national race. No one believed in him. His friends told him he wasn't ready, that he should wait until next year, but he was clear about one thing. He wasn't going to wait for others to believe in him. He decided to trust himself and take the leap. For months, he trained in silence, facing his fears and insecurities every day. He knew he couldn't control the outcome, but he could control his effort, and that's what strengthened him. He didn't need others to tell him he could do it. He proved it to himself. Over and over, the day of the race arrived, and it would be nice to say he won, wouldn't it? But he didn't. He gained something even more important, confidence in himself. It was proof that his worth didn't depend on what others thought, but on giving his all with his whole heart. Now let's talk about you. How many times have you held back because you feared you weren't good enough, because you thought you didn't measure up? Listen, you don't need to be perfect to start. Do you know what you need to start? First, practice positive affirmations. It's simple, right? But it's incredibly powerful. Every day, write down something that makes you proud of yourself. It could be a small achievement, like today, I faced a difficult conversation, or something as basic as I've stayed consistent with my goals. These affirmations will remind you of what you're capable of. And the best part, you don't need anyone else to do it. Next, step out of your comfort zone. I'm not asking you to climb Everest, but start with small steps. For instance, speak up in a meeting, make a decision without seeking others' opinions, or start a conversation with someone new. Each time you face a small challenge, you're training your mind to trust yourself more. It's like adding repetitions at the gym for your confidence muscle. Remember this, you don't need anyone's approval to feel secure in yourself. You are enough, and when you understand this, you'll discover something incredible. You don't need anyone else to move forward, because the most important person in your life is already with you. So my friend, what small step will you take today to strengthen your confidence?